Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street, presented by Plaza Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Here is Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel, Gary Vickery, and I'm your host, Lisa Melmed. Welcome to another episode of On the Corner of Main Street. Hello, Gary. Hello, Jonathan. How are you?
It's another beautiful day in downtown Las Vegas.
The sun is shining.
Boss man, how are you?
Doing good, guys. Quiet as quiet can be in terms of business, but it's given us a good opportunity to plan for 2021 and start working on some very exciting things. So it's quiet, but I think I did a picture yesterday of the 800 residential units coming downtown, and I said, it's tough now, but downtown is still on the path that I think we all wanted to be on, and we are heading in the right direction.
So today we have a very exciting guest that will be joining us. But before we get into that, I'd like to talk about all the murals and on the plaza and the art downtown.
Yeah, so today's guest is Patrick, who's half of Faile, and he is, I think, one of the most prominent street artists, urban artists that you can get. So we're very privileged to have him on the podcast, and he's actually become a friend of mine over the years. Ironically, for my 18th birthday, James Miller, one of my closest friends, gave me a birthday gift, which was four pictures from an artist, and I had no idea what they were, but they were very cool. And that was almost 20 years ago now.
Wow!
And they're hanging on my wall back at home in London still. And a year later, he gave me a fifth one. So I have 5 pieces by this artist. And at the time, I had no idea who they were. Fast forward, they are Faile. So we'll post a picture of those pieces when we release the episode. But it's pretty cool that 20 years later, we are having him on the podcast. And I guess they say things in life come full circle.
Yeah. So he did one of the murals on the North Tower. We have 3 murals, are all about 21 stories.
25 stories-ish.
Tall, huge. And Faile did the one that you can see driving in on the I-15.
No, on the 95.
It overlooks the I-15 freeway.
Oh, yeah. I guess they cross at Spaghetti Junction.
You see it on the 95. You see it everywhere. I think it's the most visible mural of all of them.
It is, and so the other 2 artists were Shepard Fairey and Deface. Again, 2 of the other biggest names perhaps in the mural world, and we're very honored to have them on our building. And what at the time, and I think you guys were here as part of that conversation, it was risky. I mean, to put 3 iconic, colorful, different murals on a historic building like the Plaza that was turning 50 coming up on the 50th anniversary, it was very risky. I mean, some people said, you're crazy, how can you do this to the integrity of the building? And I'll be honest, it was Roy Zabladovich who really convinced me that it was the right thing to do, and I certainly wasn't 100% comfortable with it. I was, up until the day the first lick of paint went on the building, I was still thinking, are we crazy to do this? Like, we're changing the history of the plaza here with 3 murals, but in hindsight, it was a brilliant move.
Yeah.
They've been photographed a million times over. We've had people book rooms here because they want to stay in the hotel where Shepard Fairey or Deface or Faile did a mural. We've had millions and millions of Instagram impressions, and like you said, Gary, when you're driving into downtown, you see the plaza, you see the murals, and we've become known as that building. So it's certainly it was a great decision, but at the time was a little risky. So
when you agreed to do the murals on the building, so the plan was always to do all 3?
Yeah, it was a package. So Just Kids, which is a sort of art broker, for lack of a better word, they did Life is Beautiful. All the art there, that's how I got connected with them. Ryan Doherty actually helped me connect with them. And she gave us a proposal for the 3 murals that Roy had worked on. And we were nervous. I mean, it was an expense, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was, we had to hang them from a swing stage off the North Tower and let them do this and ultimately change the history of the look and feel of the plaza. So it was risky. But we've been long believers in art being a catalyst for downtown Las Vegas. We've long wanted to do more with art here. In fact, when I moved here in 2007, interesting story, there was a building that today is the Backdoor Billiards building. It's on 6th and Fremont, right across from La Comida. It's like a live music venue.
Backstage Bar and Billiards?
Yeah, Backstage Bar and Billiards. BBB, I think they call it. Backstage Bar and Billiards. So that building was the old Fingerprint building back in the 80s and 90s. Then it was nothing, and we bid on it in 2007. That was one of the first things I worked on. We might have told the story earlier, and it was the first time I met Oscar Goodman in my life. We went to a presentation. The city did an RFP, a request for proposals, and we submitted one that was to be called the LV Mocha. We were going to take that building on 6th Street and convert it into a Las Vegas Museum of Contemporary Art. It sounds like a Starbucks drink, but the LV Mocha was going to be the Museum of Contemporary Art, and we won the bid. I had to present it to Oscar Goodman. I was terrified. He was shouting, saying, "If you're bull essing me that this is going to happen and it doesn't actually happen, I'll find you." And I was like, "Oh my God, who's this guy?" I knew who he was. He was the mayor, but I didn't know
what he could actually do.
What he could actually do. And we won the award. And then, unfortunately, the next month was the massive recession and the global slowdown, and we ended up not being able to do it based on the timing. And so we never ended up doing that. But we have some pretty cool renderings of what could have been on 6th and Fremont for art. So we've always believed that having art was something that would help beautify downtown Las Vegas. We still believe that. And I think if you look at other downtowns, art and street art has certainly played a big part of revitalizing those areas.
Do you still have those renderings?
Yeah.
Is that something we maybe could put on the Twitter page or?
Sure, yeah,
or
we'll
some
put
on
them out.
Instagram?
Yep.
Is there any talk of bringing the discussion back of the LV Mocha?
The reason for the LV Mocha was because our ownership group, Tamara's, which is owned by Poyu and Anita Zabladovich, have a very significant art collection. And in London, they have a gallery now called 176 that I was a part of before I moved here to Las Vegas. And that has given them experience of owning, operating galleries. And I'm not sure if they'd want to do one here now in Las Vegas, but perhaps I think it certainly could be brought back to the table for discussion. But let's hear what Faile has to say about
Let's do it.
some of that.
Today we are joined by a very special guest. We are joined by Patrick McNeil. Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Patrick is part of the world-famous Brooklyn-based artistic collaboration known as Faile. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, Patrick. Nice to have you on our podcast. Thank you for taking the time to join us. You're in New York, right?
I am.
How's it going over there? Everything okay?
It's a beautiful sunny day here today.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. And we appreciate you joining us. As as we like to do, we invite guests to join who have sort of had a connection to the plaza and done some cool stuff with us or partnered with us. And you're obviously one of those people, and we're excited to jump into that today and hear a little bit more about that. But in the first instance, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what Faile is and who you are. You know, I think I've told you this, but I'm a big fan before I even met you. From my younger years, I started collecting some of your art. So I'm honored that we have you on our building now and that we have a relationship. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
I've been working as a partner with my friend Patrick Miller for 20 years under the name Faile. We started as kind of urban artists, and over the years have kind of developed more into commercial artists, you might say, doing museums and exhibitions all around the world. Our practice is pretty broad. It started with printmaking, but it's kind of expanded into sculpture, digital media, nightclubs, ceramics, and all kinds of different media. We've had 20 years to kind of explore all different types of mediums and like to challenge ourselves with different projects.
When you say urban, is that the same as street art? Is that the...
I mean, street art and graffiti kind of are... street art, when we started, didn't really have a name as street art. I mean, it was kind of just illegal art. Street art's kind of evolved over the time from when we started to becoming more of less illegal type kind of production to more of a sanctioned type kind of art form. You see a lot of cities kind of embracing it and allowing people to do murals. That's the other thing that has kind of changed over time, is it's become more of a mural culture. When we started, it was more about illegal intervention through stenciling and postering and these types of things. And yeah, over the years, it's kind of evolved and become embraced and become something that has kind of lost a little bit of its legal roots, but you still see remnants of that. But I feel like a lot of the stuff that you see now on the street is sanctioned or has permission.
I was going to say, did it lose its sort of illegal roots just because it became a business and so popular and people are willing to pay for it now?
There was something with the commodification of it. I think with any kind of like movement, whether it's like punk rock or whatever, these things over time just become embraced and take on markets of their own and just evolve and change over time. But the art market played a role in changing it. Development played a change in its evolution. There's been a lot of factors. I mean, we still try and stay true to our roots and do actions that are illegal when we travel and keep that element of it in our practice. But there's also the side of it where we've been given permission to do murals and do larger scale murals.
That's awesome.
How did you and Patrick first meet?
Well, we share the same name. It's Patrick Miller and Patrick McNeil. And I just moved to Arizona from Canada when I was 14 to go to high school. And they were calling attendance.
Where in Arizona?
Sorry? In Scottsdale.
Oh, which high school?
Chaparral.
Oh, nice.
Is that where you went?
My sister went there. I grew up there.
What year did she graduate?
Ooh, 97?
So she would have been like just a couple of years. She would have been a freshman when I graduated.
Nice.
That's cool.
Funny, small world. Okay, so the teacher was taking attendance?
Yeah, and they kept calling Patrick, and I go to raise my hand, and then they go Miller, and I put my hand down, and my name wasn't on the attendance roll yet. And it happened like 3 times. And the third time it happened, we were in gym class together, and they called his name, and he was sitting next to me, and he raised his hand, and I'm like, they've been calling your name all day, and I keep going to raise my hand, and I was like, I'm Patrick too, and introduced myself. And coincidentally, we had art classes all through high school, and just shared a friendship through art, and we're best friends all through high school.
Well, I just had a chance to meet Patrick Miller as well on their last trip out here, so that was nice. But let me ask you, Patrick, is it just the two of you, or are there other people that make up Faile? I know with some other street art, there's sort of this myth that there's other people that are part of the group, but in Faile, is it just the two of you?
Yeah, it's just the two of us. We have assistants that have helped us on and off throughout the years through the studio, executing larger projects and stuff like that, but it's just the two of us. Originally, there was a third partner, Aiko Nakagawa, who goes by Lady Aiko, and she was with us from, I believe, about 6 years through till 2006.
So thank you for that introduction. Jumping into sort of Vegas and the plaza, when we were approached to put giant murals on the plaza building, I was definitely a little nervous. I thought it was risky to take this iconic building with this historical integrity and basically put murals that didn't necessarily relate to Las Vegas or the plaza's history. And it took me probably a few months to get comfortable with the idea and many discussions with our ownership group, Poyu and Roy Zabladovich, that it was the right thing to do and really get behind it. But from your perspective, why did you want to be a part of the project at the plaza? And I guess the second part of that question is, how did you come up with the wolf and the playing cards and the image that you ultimately went with at the plaza?
Well, I can't remember what year it was. It was probably...
What year we did the murals in?
No, I was just talking about my
2017.
experience. The reason I wanted to do the plaza, the reason why I was presented, my stepmom took me to Las Vegas in the 80s. It was before Fremont Street was had the light experience over top of it. And we stayed at the plaza. And so that there was kind of a nostalgia to it. And I just always remember that. I was so excited to go to Vegas because of the lights and being young and just always hearing about it and wanting to see it. And it was just it was a really awesome trip with her. And so when I got when we got presented to do the plaza, I mean, it was just kind of an automatic yes for me, just because of the memories I had in Vegas and staying at the plaza as a young kid. And when we came up with the idea, I mean, the dog has been a character that's been with Faile through most of our history. It's played out in a lot of images that we've done, and it was always kind of like used as a entry point into a character where people could kind of project into it. You know, with a human, it's a little bit different. With a dog, I think it allows a little bit more room for the imagination. And it was just kind of a funny thing, and it just kind of stuck with us for a long time. And when we got the chance to do the plaza, there was a famous dog painting by Cassius Coolidge that was done a long time ago. There's been many iterations of it. I'm sure everyone is aware of the dog sitting at the table playing poker.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It just seemed like a funny fit and a way to like kind of tie the two together, a little bit of art history and our history that seemed to make sense with the work and the location.
Oh yeah, I'm looking that up now. Cassius Coolidge, dogs playing poker. That's awesome. And here I am, all these years later, and people say, "Why did you do that?" And I still didn't have this story, so that's embarrassing.
Oh, there you got it.
Is this still the largest mural you've ever done for 21 stories? Because I know this was done in 2017, so I just wanted to see how.
Yeah, I think it's still the largest painted mural we've done. There was a mural that was done on the outside of a train station in Stroudsburg, but that was all done with through some kind of, I don't know how they did it, but it wasn't a painted mural. It was done with like vinyl adhesives on the front, and that was probably pretty close to it. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's the largest mural we've ever done.
And Patrick, did you think at the time, from our perspective, you put yourself in our shoes, was it a little bit of a ambitious move at the time to take a 50-year-old hotel in downtown Las Vegas and put 3 colorful murals on it, or did you think it made sense automatically?
I thought it made perfect sense. I mean, I've just seen this kind of done in different cities and different locations around the world, and it's just always brought a great energy to those areas, and I've never seen it result in like a bad result in the end. It's always played out good. I felt pretty good about it.
If you could, because I think now that I can explain what the dog is a little bit better, the number 2 question that I always get about and we have 2 other murals on the building, one by Shepard Fairey and one by D-Face, but if you could describe the number 2 question I always get about the murals is, how do you guys do it? Because when I say they were done in 4 to 5 days, everyone says that's impossible. Look at the size of this thing. What is the technology, or sorry, the methodology?
So the technique that I mean, that was kind of one of the intimidating things about this transition of street culture, was the transition into like mural art, because when it started kind of taking shape and we started getting invited to do murals, I was really intimidated by the idea of it, because I'd never done murals, and it's just seemed really challenging. I mean, but there's a technique that we discovered. It's called pouncing. It's a traditional old sign painter's technique that's used for painting metal signs, trucks, or like the sides of buildings. Old billboards and stuff like that used to be painted in the 20s and 30s. They used to paint the sides of buildings using this technique. And it's basically an old tool from the 1950s that we bought on eBay. And it runs an electric charge through like a pen. And basically, we lay the tool out, the mural out on paper in a grid, and we project it in quadrants. And then the paper is laid up on a wall, and behind the paper is a sheet of metal. And when you run the pen over top of the paper, it sends an electrical charge through the paper to the back, creating small, tiny holes in the paper. And then when we get on the wall, we lay the paper up on the wall in the same quadrants. We level out the wall and have some indicators, some chalk lines on the wall of where each grid goes from the beginning. And then when we put the paper up, we have these chalk bags that we run T-shirts full of like black graphite over top of the paper, and that transfers the line work onto the wall. And then from there, after the chalk lines on the wall, we use permanent markers, usually red ones, so that when we do the paint, we'll fill in all the colors with the water-based paint, and the red marker bleeds through the paint, and that shows us where we can like lay the black lines down.
Wow.
And that's kind of how the whole thing goes up. The paper process, like the chalking, usually takes a day to get everything kind of up. And then from there, it all goes pretty quickly, with the roller and a team and the lift. I think we did that mural in, I don't remember how many days.
It was like
maybe
4.
7 days.
I think it was 4 to 5 days.
It was really fast.
I know we had to put up the scaffolding for you guys to do it, so you obviously don't have a fear of heights.
Yeah, no, that was actually a pretty incredible experience because the wind would come in.
Oh my God.
And you'd be painting, and the lift would like blow off the wall by like 6-7 feet, the swing stage, and then you'd swing back to the wall and you'd paint, and then you'd blow away from the wall again.
Oh my God, that sounds petrifying.
Yeah, it was a little crazy, but it was pretty fun. We had a really good time. We had a really great team up there. I think we had like 4 other assistants out there helping knock it out.
Yeah, you guys flew through it.
Yeah, it was a really good time. We had a blast.
It's definitely changed the landscape of downtown Vegas, and driving towards downtown, you can see it. It's incredible to see. What do you think? How do you think downtown Vegas compares to other downtown cities regarding art and murals?
Well, I definitely think it's one of the leaders in it. I mean, there's a really great collection of murals in downtown Las Vegas from artists all around the world, and I really think it brings a great life to the downtown area. And I love how a lot of the artists have tied in Las Vegas culture into their murals. There's so much there to dig into and play with, and you really see it in the art. And I really feel like it's brought a great energy downtown that sets it apart from the Strip, makes it very unique.
Is this, Patrick, is this your only mural in Las Vegas, or did you do any in conjunction with Life is Beautiful or any other locations?
No, this is the only one.
So I guess, one of the questions that was on my mind, and we've talked about this for a long time here, is what do you think we need to do in Vegas to become more of an art destination, specifically downtown? I like you said, we're one of the leaders perhaps in street art, but if you want to sort of become like Wynwood and become more of a destination, what do you think is missing?
Like some kind of institution, some museum or something, a contemporary art museum downtown, I think would be really helpful. I think that's something that Las Vegas in general is just missing.
Have you done work out in Wynwood yourself?
In Wynwood, yeah, we've done a couple murals at Wynwood walls over the years.
What's your proudest accomplishment? Where's your favorite piece of art that you've done?
Better say the Plaza. I don't know. Is that like asking someone your favorite child?
No.
Okay.
No, I definitely have doing the Tate Modern was great. Most of them I feel like are institutional type kind of things. I feel like the Brooklyn Museum was like a huge one for us because it was our hometown museum, and I always wanted to do it. And that was probably up there. That and the Tate Modern.
Let me ask you, Patrick, you're pretty international. What was the process like becoming big in the UK or even in Israel where you've done other stuff? How did you become so international, perhaps more so than other US-based urban artists?
Well, we spent a lot of time traveling early on. From the very early onset of the practice, that was kind of one of our objectives, was to not only make it something New York local based artists, but to do something that was international. And every chance we got to travel, all the money that we got, we would basically save up, go crash at friends' places, couch surf, and put up art all night long. And we did that pretty solidly for about 6 years, all the way from Asia, all over Europe. And it was a real big push. I was wrong. We did do something in Vegas very early on, back in 2004. I believe, we went and put up a whole bunch of wheat paste on the outskirts of Vegas illegally.
What is it? What did you put up?
We put up a bunch of wheat paste. Like there was an abandoned trailer on the side of the highway coming in from Los Angeles into Las Vegas. We did some abandoned billboards. There was a casino coming in from Kingman, I believe, with this. Just when you kind of come over the hill and you kind of start to come into Vegas, there's this casino up on the top there with this big water tower, and we did that as well.
Coming from Kingman? Coming from on the 15?
I think so, yeah. It's like one of those outskirts casinos, just on the very way out on the edge there. I can't remember what it was because
is it Gene? Is it in Gene? The Gold Strike in Gene?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
They have a big water tower up on a hill there that says casino in red, and we put a big poster up on that. And then
you tagged the casino?
It wasn't it wasn't the casino. It was like a water tower or something they had on the by the casino.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, but why do you think it is that sort of art has or artists have such an interest in Las Vegas? Is it the culture? Is it the sin? Is it the history of the glitz and the glamour? Why is there such a connection between artists and wanting to do works in Vegas, or and such a tie between the two?
I think it's all those things that you mentioned. I think it's like the history. There's so much there between like the West, the gangsters, the signage, the Americana, the desert, the Sin City that you talk about. I mean, there's I don't know, and it's also just a fun place to be when you work. I mean, it's an exciting place to hang out and walk around and explore. I mean, it's a fun city.
It sure is. It sure is. And I know you like to do that downtown. Come, we get coffee down here when you stay here.
That's right.
So I had a more specific art question for you. I heard from somebody that it's possible to actually remove murals off a building and then sell them. Have you ever heard of this?
I have. I don't know how they do it, but I've heard about murals that have been not necessarily murals, but smaller stencil pieces that like maybe something 6 feet by 6 feet, where they have some kind of transfer technique. Either that, or they just cut the whole wall out and save the wall. That's happened, I think, with some Banksy works and things like that. But we've had stuff that we've put up where actually sections of walls had been removed, or doors, or things like that. But
imagine if we could remove your mural off the plaza in a few years, and then commission you to do another one, but cut it up into multiple pieces and sell them.
I think you just end up with pieces of black or blue or white.
It's so big.
If I say they're black pieces of Faile art on a wall, I could probably still sell them.
Do people ever graffiti over your work, like over big murals? Is that annoying?
No, I mean, that's kind of, the murals, not so much, but the stuff that we've done on the street, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of part of working in the street that you have to embrace. I mean, whether it's somebody taking over it or the weather wearing it away, that's just kind of part of the nature of doing work in public spaces. Is it's never really meant to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what will last forever is, we have your mural on our casino chips, so they're going to be forever in circulation here at the plaza.
That's right, $25 chips got the
big money.
On them.
So if anybody wants a piece of history, make sure you come on down and get your $25 chips.
So you're in New York. Were you in New York during the whole pandemic?
Yeah, I've pretty much been here since March.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple trips. I went out to Vegas. I saw Jonathan for a day, or a few minutes during a day.
Nice.
But that's pretty much been the only the trip since March, really.
Wow.
That's right. You took a risk on the pandemic just to come and see me.
That's right. I missed you too much.
Do you think the pandemic has impacted art at all, or has it impacted your work?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's been a really good reset. I know a lot of people are suffering out there and having a really tough time with it and everything, but um, I've honestly really valued this moment. I feel like it's been a really good reset. It's been good creatively. It's really, in a way, slowed things down in a way that's allowed me to kind of reassess some things creatively and think differently. I feel really blessed for it in a way.
So, what are the next steps for you?
We're looking to do a show in New York in May, and we had plans to open a nightclub here in New York in September.
Oh, wow.
Our club in Detroit shut down, so hopefully we'll get that back up and running in
Well,
the
that
new year.
was one of the things I wanted to talk about, Patrick. If you could just tell everyone a little bit about what the nightclub is, because it's not just a normal nightclub. If you could explain that and also just the arcade concepts that you have.
We started, the club is called Deluxe Flux, and it started as an art installation probably about 12 years ago, where we made an arcade in London where we reappropriated old video game cabinets from the 80s and we made custom video games and sounds for them. And they were kind of nonsensical, like non-objective based games, just more of a way to like interact and play with the art. We looked at the cabinets as like art sculpture and kind of reimagined them, and then had all these kind of crazy sound effects to them, put in like crazy speakers. And in the basement, we did this blacklight room experience with like a foosball table. And this art show was kind of like just a really random idea. It was a collaboration with another artist friend named Bass, who we'd worked with for years. And during the show, it was like so much fun. Like people were coming in, and it was like the first art show we'd ever done where people were like screaming and yelling, and you could just feel the energy in this space.
Awesome.
And we had so much fun doing it that we did a couple more pop-ups. I think we did maybe 6 more of them. We did one in Scotland, one in Miami, one in New York, one in Brooklyn. I feel like we did one somewhere else. I can't remember where, but we did it for about 10 years. And then finally, we met a friend in Detroit, and he pitched the idea of kind of evolving the arcade experience into a nightclub idea in Detroit. And we brought the energy of Deluxe Flux, the art experience, into like a nightclub experience. We worked with Andy Watson, the lighting designer from Radiohead, to design all the lighting for the club, and just made this kind of crazy nightclub. And it's been open for about a year and a half, and it shut down during the pandemic, and there was plans to open one under Webster Hall in the old Roxy in New York. And that's still the plan, but it's been slowed down with COVID. So hopefully in the new year we'll kind of get that roosting going again.
What about Las Vegas for one of these?
What about the Plaza?
Well, we've talked about it.
Yeah, okay.
But I guess one of your concerns was more about food and beverage and like how nightclubs work in Detroit. We still got to talk about that one of these days.
Well, I think as you mentioned, everything's taking a reset right now, so it's a good time to be looking to things in the future.
That's right.
One last question. Who would be your favorite dream artist to do a collaboration with?
I got a couple. Raymond Pettibone would be one. Todd James. I don't know. Those were be at the top of my list right now. I'd love to work with them one day.
I'll have to research both of those. You know, we really appreciate the impact that you've had on the plaza and the history of the plaza, and that mural will certainly not just live forever, but has changed the entrance to downtown and the feel. And many people say, oh, that's where the dog is when you're driving down the busy freeways towards downtown. So thank you for your partnership. Thank you for helping to be a part of this change of downtown, and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Well, thank you so much. It was a real honor, and we were real grateful to have the opportunity to work on the building. It was really a real treat for us.
Well, thank you, Patrick. Hopefully this travel opens up a little bit, and we'll see you out here sooner than later.
Right on. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year's. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for joining us on the corner of Main Street. You can follow Patrick and Faile on Instagram @FaileArt. We'll be back again soon, but in the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe. Tell your friends about the podcast. And of course, follow us on social. On Twitter and Instagram, it's @PlazaPod, and on Facebook, find us at Plaza Podcast. We'll see you next time from right here on the corner of Main Street.